Join our knowledgeable hosts as they dive into the captivating universe of comic books, movies, TV shows, and pop culture. Get ready for vibrant discussions and a shared enthusiasm for all things superhero and beyond. A comic podcast straight from the panels. This is Beyond the Capes.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Cape. Your host, Ryan, joined again by our friend Alex.
Hey everybody, it's your co-host and Marvel expert Alex.
All right, and today we will be discussing the new He-Man by Kevin Smith, He-Man Revolution. Man, that was fantastic.
It was a great season. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, I really loved Revolution. That was the first season, right?
No, so
the first
that
season
was
was called
Revelation.
Revelation. I'm sorry.
Because in the intro, they said when you have this many revelations, it's only bound to lead into He-Man Revolution.
Classic. It was a great opening, and honestly, I mean, for me, it was a really easy binge watch. I know it was only 5 episodes, and each one is about like a half an hour long, but I mean, I just felt it was perfect. You know, I mean, like the Revelation needed, you know, like the whole world building in those 10 episodes, right? Revolution, I felt that the 5 episode was perfect the way it was. I mean, just to tell a good story. I don't feel like you need like really like so many episodes to tell a really cohesive story. I mean, if you're able to tell them like within 5 episodes, I feel that's great. I mean, I feel like it. I mean, even like challenges the creators to like pack as much, you know, like creativity and storytelling within these 5 episodes. I felt they really did a great job. You know, and of course, no, we wouldn't have gone um, uh, these 5 without, you know, Revelation first. I felt that like if you just went into this Revolution without really going back and watching Revelation, I don't think it for the person watching it, it would have connected. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess before we get any further in on this, if you haven't watched it, there's going to be a lot of spoiler alerts.
Yes, for sure.
Where's the broadcasting? This is a spoiler announcement. That's Alex's favorite. So, now it's so different though, because Revelation was what, 2 seasons?
Yeah, it was part 1 and part 2. Yeah, it was 2-parter.
Well, Revelation was so drastically different than what Revolution was. I mean, Revolution kind of goes back to the classic He-Man, as we discussed before, and Kevin Smith has stated that his homage is more of a melding of the original He-Man, and as we were just discussing before the show, the 2003 Cartoon Network version.
Yeah, and I guess they also had like pulling some of the stuff from like the comics too, from what I believe.
Yeah, I mean there's some for comics. For those that are still tuned in that now know that there are spoiler announcements. Even the movie, as we found out in Revolution, as Gwildor, the locksmith, the cosmic locksmith, makes his appearance in this, which was fantastic.
I was just about to say, I'm sure you're so excited to see him and being a big fan of the movie yourself.
100%. The fact that they didn't get Ivan Drago to do a voice cameo, I don't know if they did. That was a very big missed opportunity if they did that.
Totally, yeah.
But it was just so crazy how different Revolution is, because Revelation, I mean, we started the part 1. I mean, first episode, almost everyone dies.
Yeah, I mean, He-Man
dies. I mean, what was his name? Fisto, which had to be like the best sentence in like the first episode.
Yeah,
when he's like, Skeletor, I'll give you a fisting.
Yeah,
I was like, all right, now I can see why this is definitely a Kevin Smith story.
Yeah,
that's right there.
Yeah, voiced by Ralph Garman.
Yeah,
yeah.
And there was one other guy that died, and then like literally the whole world went into chaos. Skeletor won. He defeated He-Man. He to a degree got the power. No, he kind of disappeared.
Well, yeah, they assumed that he died too. That He-Man killed him and then got killed while fighting him. And then the story was about
they went to Subternia.
Yes, yeah, there was the Subternia, and then if for a while it focused on Man of Arm's daughter. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name. Teela, and that's which was fine, you know. I mean, like it, which was captivating about Revelation, right? It was because like it made you focus on these other characters that weren't necessarily highlighted, you know, or were such a bigger deal in the original. I loved it. I mean, I loved both these seasons and series. You know, I mean, because it just went in a completely different direction that you weren't expecting.
Yeah. So I guess a little background for everyone still listening. Revolution picks up pretty much right where kind of part 2 ends, as we see Pre-Eternia has been destroyed from Evil-Lyn trying to take the power of Grayskull. She brought down essentially the heavens, causing a cosmic unbalance, which wasn't, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, really wasn't the worst thing, because I think even with Teela kind of becoming the sorceress of Grayskull from her mom, which, again, if you watched the 2003 series or the original, you knew that Teela was always related to the sorceress. But I think the biggest cliffhanger from the part 2 Revelation was when Triclops' little religion that no one really took serious until the end, when you realize that the statue they were praying to came alive as Motherboard, and you just hear Skeletor scream in the distance. So Revolution picks up with that, where everyone's being assimilated by Motherboard, and then we find out that it's actually an envoy for an even greater villain. Was it not Havoc, but Haddock or Havoc? I can't remember the name exactly.
Yeah, something around those lines. Yeah.
Who was the former mentor of Keldor? Who they kind of go into the backstory, which, again, I feel like you had to have at least perused the 2003 series or know the original He-Man, because it gave you so much more background. Because even in the 2003, I think the first episode, they revealed that Keldor was Skeletor before he got his face melted off, essentially. But two very distinct origins on how that happened. I don't know if you saw that or remembered that.
I don't remember. I mean, I remember kind of like briefly that episode. I mean, it was so long ago since I said
it's on Amazon Prime. If anyone, because I've been watching the original 2003.
Okay, well, I have to go back and watch it then for sure.
Because in 2003, he had broken into the kingdom. I think it was like a vial of acid or magic acid or something. It got like splashed back in his face.
Right, and it was very different in Revelation, though.
And in Revelations, his mentor made him grab onto the staff of dark magic or chaos magic, and it like gave him the power, but like instantly melted his face,
which is pretty metal to see on screen.
Yeah, I mean, fantastically animated, 100%. I think the only complaint that I really had with this series was what was it? Oh my gosh, I gotta think about Scareglow. That felt like such a waste of time. They literally broke back into Subuternia to like try to free the souls of Fisto, and I can't remember who the other guy was. I cannot recall his name. He also died because with Pre-Eternia destroyed, no souls can go essentially to heaven, to their heaven. And they're worried because, again, spoiler alert, Adam's dad is dying, which we find out later. And that's why they want to try to figure out how to let his soul cross. But they break in and they steal these souls. They make a giant hole in the hell. they resolve nothing, and they just put a giant like sticker over the top. They're like, all right, you're sealed up for now. And that's the last we hear of that in the plot. Man, and that really bugged me the whole time watching that, because I was like, that just seems
rushed. I mean,
it just seems like a really big loose end.
Yeah, I mean, because they had like 5 episodes, right? And they had like a lot they wanted to get to. So I'm sure there was more they wanted to explore with that, but because of time constraints, I'm sure that that there's a lot more that was on the cutting room floor that we probably just didn't make it to the screen.
Yeah, and it's possible. I mean, they have such big ownership of everything now, and obviously Kevin Smith has a plan, because the ending, which we will not talk about, you do need to go see the ending. I'm not going to ruin that part, but there was essentially 2 cliffhangers. One involving Evil-Lyn, which was very interesting because I kind of remember some of that from getting my hands on some of the comics, and briefly may have remembered it from clips of the old show that I've seen. And one was having to do with the villains. And what happens to the villains is also I didn't see the ending coming on that.
Yes. Who could have seen Megatron and Cobra Commander, busting in through the Castle Grayskull? I mean, it was a big surprise for me. So.
This is about to be a lawsuit right here, and we're going to get shut down in 2 seconds. I can confirm that as much as I would love to see that did not happen.
No, I didn't.
I mean, the good news is we are closer to getting a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover.
We are.
That might have been the best secret ending of 2023 of my life, is seeing that business card.
Right. Me too. I was like, wait, no way. And I didn't see it in theater, so I had to wait to watch it on streaming. And then when that G.I. Joe symbol came up at the end, I'm like, no. Are we getting a crossover, or are they just like backdooring into a G.I. Joe movie? Which would be okay, but like having a crossover would be just great. Because being a big fan of the comics myself, I mean, the crossover of G.I. Joe and Transformers, the line that I read, I really hope they go with that storyline. I mean, it was just great, but going back to He-Man, it was just such a great show. I think there was a comment I was listening to Family on Batman, and people were like, "Hey, you should do Thundercats, right?" And Kevin Smith reaction to that was like, "Well, I mean, I don't know anything about Thundercats. I never watched Thundercats when I was young, and I watched everything involving He-Man, right? Because I was a big fan of He-Man, so I was really familiar with that material." But if you know anything about Thundercats, or even watched the rebooted back in the early 2000s, like I did, it's almost the exact same thing as Revolution was actually. If are the same thing, where magic versus science, technology, like being hidden away. Do you remember that, Ryan?
Well, I mean, it just depends on like where we look at the crossover, because when you talk about Thundercats, the original Thundercats versus, I don't know, maybe late 2000s remake, which only got 1 season. It was vastly different. In terms of origin, it was definitely a reimagining. Just because of all like the kind of how they ended it with like the flashbacks and like unlocking the powers of the Sword of Omens and stuff. So it was interesting because they did kind of slip away kind of from that original storyline. It was still good. It was definitely well done. It got cut down in its prime very early on. It just, I don't know if it was just a bad timing and again, most of these shows for the most part get cut because of toys and selling. 100%. If there's a cartoon that you liked and you're like, man, I don't know how it didn't, make it. Most likely it was toys.
Yeah, I mean, maybe viewership, but I mean, then again, you're right. If the toys aren't selling, then they're not going to continue producing a show that's not going to produce them in the other avenue. But what do you think of just about like Kevin Smith delving into that Thundercats, like and treating it the way he did with He-Man? Do you think it'll be as great, or do you think it might lack a little bit because his
For sure, well,
unfamiliarity?
for
You know,
sure.
yeah,
When you look at, and he's exactly spot on. I don't think he should take on Thundercats if he has no interest in it.
yeah,
You can't. You could do a great job. I can't remember who I was talking with on another interview for the show, but like, would I love to see John Woo do like a rom-com? Sure. Could he do it? He's directed tons of movies.
right.
Is it going to be different than like slow motion knife fight with guns? Yeah. Like, is it still going to be like an interesting movie? Probably. Will
Mhm.
it be as good as it could have been without like Judd Apatow to do like a Seth Rogen rom-com? Probably not. So yeah, I think Kevin Smith is spot on what he said. He
Yeah,
shouldn't do it because, and he could probably read up on it enough and smoke something and watch the show and come up with like
right,
a really great idea. But again, without the interest there, like, what's the point of even doing it?
right. And if you forgive me, but wasn't there, not to change subjects, but speak about Thundercats and comics, wasn't there like a crossover between He-Man and Thundercats in the comics at one
I don't
point?
know about that. I want to say recently. I was going to say a little bit ago. There was a crossover either recently or is coming up. He-Man with TMNT.
Oh my god. That
So
I would be down to read. That'd be down to read. You know what? Let me do a little research on this crossover with He-Man and Thundercats.
you could do
Yeah.
Shred the Thor. But yeah, I don't remember in He-Man and Thundercats. It could work. Two swords. I mean, almost same concept esque to a degree.
hmm
But yeah, I don't remember that crossover.
There was a crossover. It was He-Man / Thundercats. It was a crossover that was released back in 2000, between 2016 and 2017. And it was published by DC Comics.
I wonder how they got, because I thought IDW.
I mean, I think it was just, wasn't He-Man and Thundercats originally a Hanna-Barbera cartoon? I mean, like in the studio, because DC does own Hanna-Barbera, but I might be wrong
I don't know.
about
I know I got
yeah.
the number one coming up for the new Thundercats comic book that's coming out, but I don't know. DC Comics, I didn't think that they owned it.
I mean, I'm sure it was like a one time. I'll have to delve into it a little bit more, you know. But yeah, it was like I mean, obviously it was a mini series that just had a crossover of He-Man and the Thundercats, and this was back in, first published date was October 5th, 2016. The last one was on March 15, 2017, and it ran for 6 issues.
Yeah. The whoever did Thundercats, the studio was acquired in 1989 from Walt Disney Animation Japan.
Okay.
Warner Brothers has the rights to the series, so WB, and DC owns WB, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, they do. So, but now, so does DC own He-Man still,
Um.
or not anymore because Mattel did all the production?
Well, you could give Mattel the toy rights, and having the toy rights and versus like the actual production rights, I don't know who has that. So it's very possible that Mattel does have toy rights to it.
Right. So,
But there was always, and there's still always talk about the Thundercats movie that's been on hold for like years now.
right.
So I don't know. We may get to see that. I mean, it's the same thing with the He-Man movie. I feel like for a while we've gone through a lot of iterations of, kind of, do you do a sequel off the original live action? Do you do a reboot of the live action? I don't know. I feel like we've gone through that. We've gone through that quite a bit too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with the success of this version of He-Man, I definitely think they're gonna attempt to try to do a movie again. Um, just because right now He-Man is kind of like hot on the heels, and they're definitely gonna be trying to catch up with what Kevin Smith has done. So,
well, I mean, and then I guess the problem is like,
how do you tell? I mean, do you do an origin story? Do you do a continuation? Do you just do maybe a continuation of Kevin Smith's version, but just make it to a live action version? I mean, there's some possibilities, that they can go with. So,
well, that's the problem. I think there's almost too many at this point, because then it just becomes like, where do you draw the line, I guess?
yeah, but then also like Kevin Smith did a really good job telling the lore of it, where I feel like if you were trying to adapt it to a movie, it would, falter pretty fast. I mean, having this being episodically, it doesn't feel like you're jamming everything into someone's face, all this information. Where it being episodic, you can gradually tell the lore of the He-Man universe. Where if you try to do a 2, even 3 hour movie, I feel like you're just be doing an injustice to that storyline and the lore.
Yeah, and yeah, it's so difficult, because the other thing that's crazy, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it, is when Revolution came out, the original Kevin Smith reboot, there was another He-Man Masters of the Universe that did come out on Netflix that was all CGI.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad.
I didn't see it, so I know.
It was weird, and I think that's kind of the problem with the Green Lantern show on, I think, Nickelodeon. That was really kind of weird. Where like it was good storytelling. You might have remembered it. It wasn't like First Flight or anything, but it was like all CGI.
Yeah,
it was Hal Jordan, and like they introduced like Red Lanterns like right away, and then Sinestro, and it was decent, but it was, I don't know. I think I got too used to 2D animation, and it's weird seeing CGI.
Yeah,
that's what happened with He-Man.
Yeah, I think the CGI Green Lantern was on Cartoon Network. I think they only got like 1 or 2 seasons. I don't think it got it got picked up again. I think. I mean, I personally. I mean, I think I just watched the pilot and then I just lost interest. I think at the end though, they really try heavily to lean on the comics, and I think Hal Jordan started becoming like a bad guy, or was possessed by the creature that's part of the Yellow Lantern.
Parallax.
Yeah, I think which is great, because we've never seen that like in the live action format before. Again, but I think that's what I heard. I haven't actually gone and seen it yet. But yeah, I mean, like I was also I was familiar with the CGI He-Man as well, but just seeing what the visual take on it just wasn't appealing to me. I just didn't. I mean, I was just so into Kevin Smith's version. I was afraid if I watched the CGI version, it would take me out completely, and I really didn't want to do that.
Well, I think you have to look at it as 2 different storylines, because from what I did see of the CGI, it was kind of like the reboot of like the series,
right? So like the origins of He-Man.
Yeah, where Kevin Smith's He-Man, I feel like, is more, again, as we discussed, as a continuation kind of a cartoon. 2003 in the cartoon itself.
Right.
So you almost have 2 parallel He-Mans.
Yeah. 2 parallel He-Mans on the same network, promoting both at the same time. So it could have gone really badly. But luckily, obviously that show, the CGI didn't get a renewal, and Kevin Smith's did. So,
well, the question you need to ask yourself then is, does Kevin Smith go on? Does he introduce She-Ra to this?
Would She-Ra be part of like in her own show, or would she be just part of the He-Man um storyline, which I think would probably work better than her getting her own.
Well, there's a couple challenges that come with it. One, there was that one show, She-Ra, Princess of Power. I think that came out like Cartoon Network.
Netflix. Netflix actually.
Was it Netflix? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was like what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was a 2D a 2D cartoon.
Yeah. So does Netflix own it? I guess is the big question. If they do, as Kevin Smith, like, do you make part 2 of Revolution and like you bring her in as a side character, and then like if it does well enough, you do a side show, or do you just keep her within the universe?
I mean, was there enough of She-Ra? I mean, like from the original, like in the 80s,
my god, yeah,
to tell. Okay, like enough lore and stuff like that, like to tell her own story. I mean, like how many seasons did she have?
She had her own show.
I know she had her own show. I mean, there's a whole storyline. I mean, there's a whole storyline, surrounding her and all this stuff like that.
There was 2 seasons worth.
Yeah. I mean, if Kevin Smith is doing it, and along with the other creators, and he has enough people that are passionate, I can totally see them bringing her on. I mean, especially if they're gonna make another season of Revolution, continuing, and they bring her in, there's tons of characters that they still haven't introduced yet, and she could definitely be one of them. And if she does well enough in the He-Man show, yeah, they could totally, take her on, and make her own character. And, Kevin Smith being a big Supergirl fan, like directing a couple episodes himself, and always being able to put tell a good female lead story like he did in Revelation. Like the first couple episodes was, again, didn't focus on He-Man at all. It focuses on Man of Arm's daughter and her story, and those are really compelling. So I think it would be pretty successful. I mean, I would listen. I mean, I would take a watch. I would watch it. So
and it's not like it has to be like Kevin Smith does a She-Ra show. But it is nice to have that, I guess, in the back pocket. Just like in case you needed to introduce someone. And I lied. It had more than 2 seasons. It had 5 seasons.
Okay. Well, you see tons of lore there. There's tons of lore that you can pull from, so.
And then Hordak is the enemy. As I was bringing it up, it just happened to pop up. But that was the main villain for Revolution, was Hordak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what necessarily the right answer is for that.
I mean, we just have to see, I mean, again, like it would be crazy, I guess, at this point, if they're going to continue on, not to bring her in, especially, with how everything ended, with, again, spoiler, with He-Man getting more power, and oh my God, I'm sorry, dude, I keep forgetting what's the one who protects Castle Grayskull. What's her name?
The sorceress. Well, Teela now.
Right, sorceress Teela. Now both Teela and He-Man getting upgrade in their powers. I think you have to bring in a new character, and
well, it's just interesting because with like this lore of She-Ra, and I kind of remember them touching base on this, but just briefly reading through is that she was a part of Hordak's army because she was an orphan who didn't really know like her roots and everything. And I guess in her story, she's encountered Hordak Prime, which is kind of what happens at the end of Revolution, was their ability to contact Hordak Prime or Horde Prime, from Hordak. So I mean, like, you set it up for a perfect thing to do to introduce her.
Mm-hmm. And we could have seen her at the end. I mean, it could have been. I mean, again, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but if you watch it, you'll see, what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, like, is there more lore to He-Man to tell? Or have they exhausted everything right now?
No, I think you still got plenty. I mean, I still think that this She-Ra is the way to go because She-Ra connects back to the Horde, which now has been introduced in Revolution with Hordak. And she was always the long lost twin sister of Prince Adam.
Oh, okay. I thought she was a cousin or something. Sorry.
No. No. I don't know what kind of He-Man you've been watching.
I haven't watched any He-Man, to be honest. I mean, until
he's been watching the other videos, people.
Yeah. Oh man, so that was really. I mean, anything.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, and I know you used to hate Orko. In the 2003, I definitely remember you saying like they should have killed Orko in the beginning. I don't know why you had it out for him, but man, you did not like him.
I have to rewatch it. I mean, I'm sure there's a good reason why I hated Orko.
Now, don't get me wrong. In the 2003, he was kind of the comedic relief, because it's been stated even early on that he had lost his wand, so he had no way to actually control his magic.
Okay, so maybe I was a little annoyed with him then.
So he definitely like made a mess of every plan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what they did with this version of Orko was completely different. I mean, they took him, they gave him like, yeah, he was a little bit of clumsy, but not like overly done, and he had a lot of heart, and he upgraded, right? He became like a wizard,
Well,
and not just
he was always a wizard technically.
Yeah, but he wasn't like the fumbling idiot, like he had a real stake in this, and I think in 2003 version, I think I do remember being really annoyed and being like, why do they have this guy? Like,
can we get rid of Orko? What's the deal here?
Yeah.
The only thing I found weird about the 2003, and I was always wondering, like, if Kevin Smith would do it like as a special commentary if he ever released this on DVD, is the 2003 used to end like kind of how G.I. Joe would end. Like it would end with like a message like, when we're not battling the forces of Skeletor, I always lend a helping hand to some friends in need. And that's how we defeat evil. Yes, 100%. They would always do like a message at the end of every episode, like
of the 2003 version or the original?
No, 2003. They definitely would do a message of like, oh no, you should help people and don't be bad.
Well, I think maybe they're trying to like copy the original, because I know the 1980s version totally did that, because again, G.I. Joe did that, Captain Planet, so He-Man had to do it too, and I guess they wanted to, I don't know, do the nostalgia of it, and that's why they redid it for 2003, which doesn't make any sense because by that time no one was doing that. So
well, they wanted to put some good stuff back into the world, sir.
Oh, okay, I see. So drugs are for losers. I see. So
I don't think they ever covered drugs on He-Man.
They totally should. They totally should now.
I don't know how you would work that in, but
I mean, like
it's funny you say that too, because I was always wondering. I wonder if like Kevin Smith had thought like, man, I should wonder if I should get like some of my friends to do voices, because I was kind of expecting like Jason Mewes' voice to pop up as some character.
He did.
Did he in the new one?
Oh yeah, at the very beginning with the two-headed guy that they brought into to see Skeletor and they converted. One of those heads, if you do go back, that's totally Jason Mewes. I can't believe you missed it.
It did not sound like him at all.
Oh, that was totally him. That was totally him.
Let's find out. Let's look at the casting list here.
Yeah, Jason Mewes, Ralph Garman is in there. A bunch of his friends were in there.
Well, Ralph Garman, I guess I can understand more. Keith David, I feel like has been in everything recently.
Yeah.
So that was he always does a good job. Melissa Benoist, I might have just butchered that last name, but I kind of figured she was going to be in it. Like that made sense to me. The only one that I was really surprised by in this new season, and I won't say how it's involved, but there might be some, as we talked about, some flashbacks with Keldor, which was obviously Skeletor's former name, was that he got William Shatner for that.
Oh yeah, I was super happy to hear his voice, because I mean, if everyone knows, William Shatner is Captain Kirk, and Mark Hamill plays Skeletor, and Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker. So you got to have Mark Hamill and William Shatner together, working together on a project for the very first time. So.
Well, that and Revelation. I mean, we got to hear Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, we did. That's right.
I don't think that was his last performance, but I think that was like his second to last one.
Maybe. I mean, because Revelation came out like 2 years ago, right? Didn't it? It was like 2 years ago. I want to say.
Yeah.
2000. Yeah.
So, yeah. Jason Mewes as Stinkor Badra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, just looking at this man, Alicia Silverstone was in Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Henry Rollins as Triclop, which I thought that sounded familiar. Justin Long, I kind of forgot that he was in there.
Yeah.
Oh man, Tony Todd as Scareglow, that was another good choice. Tony Todd has such a great voice.
Yeah,
he's such a good bad guy voice.
He does. Yeah.
Phil Lamar doesn't surprise me. Mm-hmm. His daughter was in there, Harley Quinn Smith, which again I kind of figured.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I am kind of surprised I didn't see like that he put the wife in there.
Jen Schwaber.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it all depends, I mean, like, he might have asked her, and she was like, "No, I don't feel like, doing it." So
yeah, and Clamp Champ was the other guy who died, and that was voiced by Method Man.
Method Man, yes,
yes, fantastic. I did not know that, but even Kevin Smith gave a little voice acting.
He did. What character? And,
yeah, it must be unknown because what did I just see it as? Goat Man and Pig Boy.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait. I did not know after listening to Ram Man that was Danny Trejo.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either. That's nice. I mean, I love Danny Trejo. Gold. He makes gold whatever he's in. So.
Yeah. So I mean, this, like I said, if anyone's listening, obviously this is a very impressive cast.
Yeah.
It's not the usual. I mean, it's partially so like his friends, but I mean, it's a lot of top notch.
Yeah, a lot of big name actors. I
mean, Cersei from Game of Thrones did Evil Lynn.
God. Yeah, and she has a great. I mean, he picked really good people to cast these. I mean, like cast these characters. The guy who played in Man of Arms also, he was in Game of Thrones as well.
Let's see. I gotta look for that.
But I mean, he has a top-notch voice. I mean, they really did a good job casting these characters with really good performers.
Well, I mean, and you have to. I mean, and Mark Hamill as Skeletor, like that's another voice. Like it's so distinct. Like I don't even know who you could.
Who else could have done him? I know. I couldn't have found him.
Liam Cunningham, who played Sir Davos in Game of Thrones, was Man at Arms or Man of War.
Man of War, yeah, in this new iteration, yeah. Oh man, yeah, that was really really good. Hey, did you notice like when what's He Man's alter ego? What's his name? Prince
Well, Prince Adam. I mean, that's
Prince
not really an
Adam.
alter ego.
Right, right. I mean, like when he's not He Man. So
But yes, Prince
remember,
Adam.
remember at the beginning when he was giving his speech about, oh, like my dad, um, made me a hover
Building the
bike.
bicycle. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, I was listening right, and I'm like, this is Kevin Smith's story about his own father. Did you notice that or no?
It sounded familiar, but like I don't remember like
I do.
where it came from.
I do. I do. It's Kevin Smith's story about him and his dad. So Kevin Smith, and forgive me, I'm paraphrasing. When he was young, he wanted a BMX bike, right? But they were so expensive, right? And but he really wanted. So his dad just took his own and welded some parts together, right, to make it look like a BMX bike, right? And at the time, Kevin Smith, he was young, so he never really rode it or anything like that. I think he eventually gave it away. But he says to this day, I wish I would have kept that bike because it's something that my dad made. And when
Alex,
he when
Alex got ugly
oh
tears forming
oh
while
yeah,
watching the
I
episode.
did. I did. I'm like, oh my god, they're telling the Kevin Smith story in He-Man. It was great. I was like, man, only only in this format could Kevin Smith retell their story. And
For
and
sure.
okay, so it was so that was a great nod to people like us who are frequent followers of him, and he's told that story many times, on his podcast or on his specials or anything like that. So when he told that story, it clicked to me right away. I'm like, yep, that's Kevin Smith's story.
Yeah. Now with He-Man, is there one, if you could pick one object to get a replica of, or even a real life version of, do you have that item?
I think I would pick, yeah, I think I would actually pick the Power Sword.
Well, you can buy, I mean, you could buy the Power Sword now. That's like, we go on Amazon tonight and have that Amazon Prime to you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, that's not.
I mean, is there any other items though that pop in my head? I don't know. I mean,
Well,
maybe.
that's just disappointing from you. Number one, Skeletor's staff would be up there for me because that
I
just
mean,
looks
I was
amazing.
that was about to be my second choice. I'm like, man, Sculptor staff right next to the Power Sword.
Now, I've made a post on this, and this is something I want to believe in. There are too many nerds out there with too much money, including Kevin Smith himself, that I cannot pay an obnoxious amount of money to go stay at the lovely castle behind me in a real life atmosphere. It's so ridiculous how many geek people with too much money like Henry Cavill and whatnot that we do not have an Airbnb Castle Grayskull or like a bat cave that you can spend the night in.
I'm sure there is a bat cave like in somebody's house, but like
I mean, one like you go to the mansion, like someone that dresses up as Alfred and is like, oh, come with me to the elevator, like flips the statue up, pushes the button. You could choose to like take an elevator down or take the poles.
pull, yeah.
And like all down in the basement is just decked out. Like you could stay down there, like they bring you meals, but like everything's bat themed with like flat screens and touch screen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it can be done. It can be done. And then as far as like Castle Grayskull, uh
Castle Grayskull could be done.
yeah, you could be done actually. I mean the front could just be like mache, like the entrance.
No, you make it out of actual stone.
Okay.
You pick somewhere like Montana or Colorado.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about like Elon Musk type of money. I'm just,
No, I'm not talking about Elon Musk. I guarantee you it would not be that much money to make.
I don't know. It could be near it,
Listen, if you want to if you want to put like flat screens and whatnot, like I don't need like that many luxuries, but to be like in the middle of the room, like there's a non-sharpened fake for insurance purposes, like Sword of Power, and like you could yell out like I have the power, and like lightning bolt comes, like I'll pay the money for that.
I mean, you can do that right now. I mean, you have a green screen. I mean, you could just
It's
yell,
not the
"I,"
same. It's not the
I,
same.
it'll have to be. It'll have to do, Ryan.
Well, I mean, like when you look at like, I mean, we got before it got shut down and that nonsense, but the Star Wars Envoy,
Yeah,
in Disney, which was fantastic. Why can't we not have a Star Trek version of that?
they used to. They used to
They,
be.
they,
I
they
mean,
definitely used to.
yeah, they used to. I mean, back in Vegas. I mean, that was the first one. That was in Vegas. It was called the Star Trek Experience. It was like I don't like a room. I mean, it looked like DS9, and then there was like two, like one was like a 4D ride, and where it was like live action, like actors, just like the Borg chasing you into the theater where like you had to like escape the Borg. I mean, and I was like, oh, how cool would that have gone? But then I think like I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was up for a while, and then it just got shut down. And then Disney came in, and they're like, They made Galaxy's Edge and promised, really immersive experience. Like to like a degree, it kind of is. But it's all like digital. Where like the hotel was the promise of that real like immersive, like you're actually going to be having your own adventure.
Yeah.
And for the most part, from what I've heard, it was exactly like that. It just
Well, there
flaked
was
out.
that's a whole nother episode we can get into
Oh
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
after reading some of the things with it, I can see why it didn't do well. But man, just you're telling me like I can't go stay at a Star Trek hotel with like a captain's chair and be like, like Riker, put him on screen. Hail the
Number
other
one,
ship.
number one, fire for torpedoes. Mega so. Yeah, I mean, there is like they do like replica. There is a place that you can go. I forgot
Again,
where it
like
is.
replicas are great, but like
Yeah.
if you told me like I got to stay and like they provide you with like Starfleet like pajamas, like the whole experience, like come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, it makes money itself. Just
Like you're telling me like we don't have a firehouse that you could stay in that comes with your own proton pack and Ghostbusters like cosplay.
There you go. And you can go on your own adventure. You can go ghost hunting. That's like part of the experience. So
Could you imagine like if you stay there and then like if you wanted to, like they could put you like in the Ecto one and like take you to like a private screening at like a little like rented out like movie theater where you could watch whatever Ghostbuster.
Come
Come
I
on.
mean, yeah.
It's like, all right, my next birthday.
Hey, there's a business idea for that, right? We should probably talk after this, so like try to keep your ideas in your head until we can get this patented, okay, buddy?
Anyone listening that wants to be an angel investor and just give us the money.
Yes, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Too funny, man. Too funny. So, anything in Revelation?
Well,
That you
Revolution as well.
Revolution. So yeah, Revolution that you wish you would have seen, or you wish that would have happened, or do you think it was just good the way it is?
I think it was just too short.
Yeah.
I think my only thing is there's so much that got crammed into such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to like part 1 and part 2 of Revelation.
Do you think like a part 2 would have been better for it then? Like to have like a.
I mean, the way it ended, I think everything happened. Really, the whole action sequence of what this was trying to obtain was really only explored and kind of done in the last episode and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the other 3 episodes were great, and like they led up to it, but like really, like the whole story was like the last episode and part of like 4.
Yeah, I hear. So like they kind of like crammed it a lot, where maybe they would have spread it out more. Maybe had like 10 episodes instead of like 5. Maybe they could have,
And I mean, I feel like the focus was different. Revolution, it was more of a focus of like the masters of the universe and like putting all these like little characters and reintroducing them and like what happened to them. Where did they go? And then in this 5 episodes, it was mainly just like, Prince Adam likes Tila. Are they going to be together? Are they not going to be together? Oh, and by the way, we should probably stop the Horde.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So I think some spacing could have maybe been done, but maybe that will be because part 2, or I don't even know if they're going to call it part 2 or they're going to have a different name for it or whatever they're going to do for it. Maybe that will be more episodes, and this was just kind of like a 1.5 to lead us into something bigger, which is a possibility.
So do you think like Skeletor's origin was a little bit rushed then, or do you
no, because I mean, there's really only so much time you need to take to tell that story. I mean, again, and I feel like some of it doesn't need to be told just because I am a fan of 2003. I did go back and I have watched a decent amount of the classic 80s He-Man. I've always known that Keldor was the half brother of the King Randor. That was no news to me. So like some of that information, I guess, and maybe that's why it feels different to me, is like some of it you could cut out, and like I'm okay with that because I already knew that. Like it's not anything big for me.
Right. I hear you. I mean, I really liked it. I mean, like, do I feel like there could have been more episodes? Maybe only because like I would have liked I enjoyed so much that like yes, I mean I would have liked to have like had more episodes. I think like if like I said at the beginning of the show, like if you can tell a cohesive story within 5 episodes, I mean I don't feel like you need to like have it dragged on, like I felt they told Skeletor's story, like his origin story, really well within just a few seconds or a few minutes that they had. Because you don't need like a whole episode to tell like his whole origin story. Like you just need a few flashbacks and a few key points, and they did go back and forth with his origin. It wasn't just like they told his whole origin story within like one episode. They told a little bit more and they cut a little bit more flashbacks into it, and so I felt that I think they did a really good job with what they did with him. Would have liked to have seen anything else though. I don't know. I mean, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I just wish that I got more episodes because I liked it a lot. So.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, and some things had to be cut out. Probably getting some of the same voice actors was probably going to be hard due to casting. Obviously, you can't do Merman because Kevin Conroy is no longer with us, so you would have had to completely recast it. So, I mean, I get why maybe there wasn't as many characters voiced in this season, or bad guys or whatnot. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a great start. I mean, it's got a solid foundation.
Yeah.
There's really nothing, I would say nothing bad about it. So I think we'll see what happens and like I said, it's hard to say, like, is this going to be a part 2 when they release it based on the ending, or are we going to see then a whole nother thing?
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as it's Kevin Smith and as long as the same creators and team, then I think it'll be just as good. So.
All right. Well, any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, like, thanks for telling me about the 2003 reboot. I'm definitely gonna look on Prime right now to do a rewatch on that. It's been a while since I've seen that, and I think I'm gonna try to find this crossover with the He-Man and Thundercats comics. I think they're a real fun read. So
it's out there somewhere. Good old eBay lets no one down. As long as you're willing to pay the price.
Right. All
right. Well, that's been another episode, everyone. If you're watching this on YouTube, hope you've enjoyed. Follow our channel, like our videos. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast, again, give us 5 stars. If you like the show, share it. Let everyone know if they're interested. And you can find us on Instagram at Beyond the Cape Podcast. And you can find this and every other episode wherever you get your podcast. Everyone, have a good night.
Good night, everybody.